This is a short video exploring the way football fans experience the game of football. Has TV stolen the soul of football, or is it still relevant away from the TV screen? First up is Joe. Is he typical of the modern man? He tells us Sky makes it easier at home or in the pub. Anyway, I'm going to watch the game.
What I used to do, and I think it's essentially the ideal way of watching football, is I used to go to a game on a Saturday, watch a game. I used to watch Charlton. I used to go home and watch Match of the Day. I used to watch all the other games. And I used to like to see essentially a replay or a televised view of what I've just seen. And then play on a Sunday.
And why would you stay at home rather than go to a game?
First of all, money. Is the main influence for me. I can't afford Premiership games to go every week for a Premiership game, so there's that. But it's not just the price of tickets, it's getting there obviously. Convenience, just easier to sit at home and watch the game. It's a typical loyal fan, isn't it? Going in week out and then sort of socialising as well, so there's essentially two parts to that. There's the socialising and there's the actual watching of the game. Which you obviously don't get if you watch the game at home. I mean, the only other sort of medium between that is if you go to the pub and you watch the game with your mates. There's that. There's nothing worse than watching a game of 90 minutes of people just hoofing it up the pitch. You want not only the entertainment of the football, but also the entertainment of the story behind it. So the Man City title chase, and there's a controversial red card or something like that.
So would you say it's a drama?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like WWE, where you watch the wrestling more for the story than you do the actual wrestling. Sometimes not as extreme the case with football, because you watch the football because you want to see the likes of Arsenal and world class players like Ronaldo and Rooney in the Premiership. But there's also the drama which makes the Premiership the best league in the world. Yeah, absolutely. But it's just part and parcel of what the game is today. So you just wouldn't have the game you have today without it. Again, that's the beauty of the day and age we live in. That's the beauty of Sky, and those sort of things that you don't always have to be at the game.
When did I start going? I started going as probably 5 or 6 years old. In the mid-60s. So my first memories are that my dad used to disappear out of the house and come back in either a very good mood or a bit of a stinking mood. And I thought to myself, "Oh, Dad, where are you going?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to Tottenham," and because he used to work in Tottenham in the gasworks. So eventually I convinced him by being a pest to take me. And I don't remember the first game, I was too young to go, and I think when you're 5 or 6 years old, the thing that you remember most is the crowd, the smell, how busy it was, and then you sort of Dad being distracted by you being there, going, because you don't really enjoy it. Then I think as we got older, got into sort of early teenage, you start to want to break off and go on your own. So although I'd go with my dad, I'd want to go off and meet lads from school and stuff like that. I worked for London Transport, so I got free travel on the tube, so I could go anywhere I liked. Also got a quarter fares on Intercity Rail and also on Sea Link, which were the ferries. So I managed to follow Tottenham over into Europe, all around the country. And at the time also we were sort of forming our friendships with the guys, some of the guys we still go with today, like your dad, Peter, Clive. There's a gang of us who've known each other since probably the early 80s, the mid 80s, and we're still going to this day. I think, apart from the social side, I was even talking to a guy this morning who was in the Masons, and this guy was saying, look, you know, he's asked to go in the Masons, and he said, you know, is it something you've ever thought about? And my reply was, I'm too busy. He said, oh yeah, I understand. He says, you've committed yourself to something already, like Tottenham.
Yeah.
I said, that's true. But the motivation is, we're forever optimistic that, you know, we're going to win. We're going to win something. We are possibly one of the worst teams you could ever support, because you never know what's going to happen till you get there. When you're most expecting a win, they'll let us down, and then they'll surprise us. So each year there's something that goes wrong and there's something that goes right. The noise, the different shouts, the people selling hot dogs, peanuts, and then the crush to get in, going through the turnstile, and that is something you cannot replicate.
So that's more than actually the actual game. That's what you actually.
That's part of the experience. But when you get in, again, you get the full view of the pitch. So you can see things sitting in your seat or standing up wherever you are that the TV can't put across. They might show you a replay from 5 different angles, but you can see a guy making a run, and you're, you know, 200 foot up in the gods, screaming at the top of your voice, pass it to that guy. You know, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Shouting at your TV, well, you know, I've done it, and I do it. But it's just something that if you've never experienced a game, you know, people cannot imagine what you go through. You know, the sort of emotional turmoil of having your heart in your mouth, standing up, sitting down, you know, having someone jump on you from 2 rows back. You know, I've been to games where, you know, when we scored the winning goal against Chelsea a few years ago, I ended up 2 rows in front, on the floor, under the seat, with another guy on top of me. I'd never met him before. We got up, eventually shook hands, got back to our seats, and singing "We're going to win the cup." So that's the sort of stuff that happens. But it does form almost like a family.
Yep, I started in 1991. I was concerned about a man coaching my son.
Yeah.
And I got sent round there to check him, and there was this bloke smoking a fag on the line who was shouting instructions, and I thought, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Opened my mouth, next thing I know I'm running the team as such. Well, I don't know, it's just something that you want to give something back, and I don't live in the area anymore, but it's something to give back to the area, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like where I'm the secretary of the football club,
Yeah.
from under-7s to girls, ladies teams and whatever, and our ability team, we have 3 ability teams. You know, I'm the secretary of the whole of the club, and I think it's very important that the club stays as one. You know, I mean, the ability team now is started off as youngsters, and now they've gone into adult football, and I believe they actually have an international player playing for them. Because we are one of only a few teams in Kent, and one of the better teams in Kent in that field, and they go away to tournaments and they play teams like Manchester United, Everton and teams like that in the Ability League, which is great. Yeah. And if ever you see these people and their parents, it's just great. I went to a presentation to theirs a few years ago to present some trophies, and a woman got up and made a massive speech about all of these children that have got all these different disabilities, and that all through their life they've had to fight for everything they've got.
Yeah.
Whether it be education or everything, anything they need has always been a struggle and a fight. And she made this wonderful speech about, you've welcomed all of these children into this club, their life has changed. As you know, they train with us on a Wednesday, they're before us when we train on a Wednesday. And she just said that you've given to these kids where everything else in their life they have to fight. And on a Wednesday night they'd look forward for it for 3 days. When they go play in the tournaments, they don't tend to play in the league, they play in tournaments. And when they go away to these tournaments, it's like from the Wednesday to the tournament, then the tournament to the Wednesday, and it's their life is all about this, because they have nothing else left in their life.
So what did I learn from these experiences? Football is genuinely universal. Although I didn't feel many women, all of my interviewees told me how more women are playing or watching the game. There is a strong theme of bonding and friendship and community around football, in all of the ways it is experienced. All of the experiences are authentic. However people receive football, it is obviously a great game which rewards people in different ways. From the park pitch to the pub, from disability teams to the Premiership. I'll let Kevin have the final word.
Yeah, and I can tell you a funny story about that, because when they went to this tournament in Derby County, that after the game they wanted to swap shirts.
Yeah.
And the Manchester United coach ran on the pitch and told his ability team that they couldn't do that because he only had a budget of £100,000 a year for his ability team, where our coach was doing it all out of his own pocket and so on and so on. So that was quite ironical.